Hi guys, we are on page 7 in your packet, and this is a lesson on rational exponents. And I chose this lesson to be an at-home lesson for you because I felt like it was one of the more simple lessons out of what we've got to do this week, so it will be the best one for you to do on your own. So up at the top, there's already some notes for you there, but I want to write something over to the side for you. So b to the m over n power. Now we did a lot with exponent rules before our common assessment, and then we did some afterwards where we practiced really big long ones. We talked about how you just take it one step at a time. And we're going to use some of those exponent rules here with rational exponents. But all rational exponents means is that the exponent can be a fraction. And so I want to show you, what does that mean? Well, as you can see over here, if something is to the 1/2 power, that's a square root. If something's to the 1/3 power, that's a cube root. Well, what is a cube root? That means what number times itself 3 times gives you that. And I'll show you an example there with it. And then the nth root would be whatever root you want to take, the 5th root, the 10th root, the 20th root, whatever root you're looking there. But there's also something that's in the top of that. And so the way we can rewrite this expression here, b to the m over n power, the denominator is what root you're taking. So this is the nth root. And the numerator of that fraction is the exponent on the letter in the parentheses there. You will also sometimes see this written as the nth root of b all to the m power. These two can be used interchangeably a lot of times. There may be some sign differences there we could talk about later, but for what we're going to be using it here, it's the same. So just to show you, if I said what is 8 to the 1/3 power, that means what is the cube root of 8, because the denominator is what root we're taking and the exponent is the exponent on your base. So the cube root of 8 means what number times itself 3 times gives you that number. It does not mean what number times 3. What number times itself 3 times. And so this is actually 2, because 2 times 2 is 4 and 4 times 2 is 8. So when I multiply 2 by itself 3 times, 2 times 2 times 2, I get 8. And so for the first part, we are just walking through how do I rewrite this. So you would be given half of this, 6xy all to the 1/2 power, and you would have to know that the 1/2 power means you take the square root. Now, since all of that's in parentheses, you take the square root of the whole thing. If only part of it was in parentheses, you'd only take the square root of the part that was being raised to that power. You can also see here, this would be given as simplify 625 to the 1/4 power. So that's the 4th root. So if you were just rewriting it, it would be like this. If you were trying to find the answer, you would say what number times itself 4 times gives you 625. And that number is actually 5, because 5 times 5 times 5 times 5, which is 4 5s, multiplies to give you 625. So let's just jump down here and do some of these problems. So down here at the bottom for the first section, it says, write each expression in radical form or write each radical expression in exponential form. So if they give it to us in exponential form, then we're going to write it in radical form. If they give it to us in radical form, we're going to write it in exponential form. So we're going to start here with this 14 to the 1/2 power. Remember, the denominator tells us what root we're taking. So this is the square root because it's just 2. When it's a square root, we don't put the little 2 in there. So this is just the square root of 14. They're not asking us to break that down. They're just asking us to rewrite it. So that's all we have to do. Then I look at number 2 here. Notice the 1/2 is only on that x. It's not on the 5, which means when I rewrite this, I only put the square root on that x, nothing else. If you put the square root over the 5, that's not true. Now, if 5x was in parentheses with the 1/2 on the outside, then they would both go under the square root. Now let's look at number 7. This one is given to us in radical form, meaning it's got the square root symbol there. And we have to rewrite that as an exponent form. So what we would do, the square root's over the whole thing, so I'm going to put the whole thing in parentheses, and I have to ask myself, okay, well, what root is that? It's the square root, which means that's the denominator of our exponent. And what power is everything in there being raised to? The first power. So it's just that written to the 1/2 power. Now I want to do another example for you over here. What if I had 18 to the 2/3 power, and I ask you to rewrite that using a root or in radical form? The denominator is what goes with the root. So since the denominator is a 3, this is the cube root. And then the numerator is what goes in the exponent. Now, we could see if that would break down more, but if all I ask you to do was rewrite it, you'd be finished. Same thing if I gave you the 5th root of x to the 3rd power. If I ask you to rewrite that in exponential form, the 5th root, that is the denominator of your exponent, and the exponent on that x is the numerator. So this would be x to the 3/5 power for the equivalent of that. Now, down at the bottom, I'm just going to explain what this wants you to do here, but we have a calculator that will do this for us on the EOC, so we'll look at that in class. You can just type this in the Desmos. But just to explain for here on number 10, it's asking what number times itself 3 times would give you 343. So you would try different numbers. For instance, I know that 5 times 5 times 5, that's 5 to the 3rd power, is 125. So I know it would have to be bigger than that. And so you would keep trying larger numbers and larger numbers. But like I said, we have a calculator that will do that for us. So what I want you to do right now, I'm getting ready to stop this video. I want you to finish 3 through 9. So 3, 4, 5, 6. We've already done 7. You're going to do 8 and 9. And then you're going to take a picture of that for me and upload it into Google Classroom in a Google form, and then you'll watch the next video.